Hello, Rob here from the Flanagan Homestead and East Fork Christmas Tree Farms. I'm not out at the tree farm right now, but I've been getting some questions about what's that hedge trimmer, what's that tool you're using when I did my trimming of the tall trees and my winter shearing. And it's not actually a hedge trimmer, this is a Stihl Kombi tool. Mine is about 15 years old. I don't even know if they sell the exact same model. They do sell them now. So when it's a Kombi tool, it's just a power head right here. Mine happens to be a Stihl 130R, but this power head can take several different attachments. So before I go any farther on my explanation, here's 17 different attachments that you can find on the Stihl website that can go onto the Kombi tool. If you stay tuned towards the end of the video, you will see Jared when I visit him at his saw shop in town, and he talks about different attachments that are popular. So what you saw on the Christmas tree farm is a hedge trimming attachment. So I've got my hedge trimming blade here. You can simply, by pulling this lever here, extend this out and lock it in at multiple different angles. Okay, but it is just a hedge trimmer with the teeth. And so when I'm shearing Christmas trees, if they're a reasonable height, I like to just do it with a blade still. It's much more efficient that way. But there's two times that I need this. One, when the trees are super tall and I don't want to be getting up and down on a ladder. Or two, when the trees have got wide enough and it's 2-year-old growth instead of New Year's growth and it's getting kind of woody, it helps to have these blades powered by a motorized head to help cut through it. So these are the different things that you have. I also have what I call chainsaw on a stick. So this is a small chainsaw that can go into the same Kombi head, and so it can extend up. I've never used that on the Christmas tree farm, but I have used it on around the property that I own, clearing branches that are overhead, reaching hard places. When I do the hedge trimmer, I typically connect it straight to the Kombi tool, and you know, you can see that this gives a little bit of length here, especially once I fold it out. It's quite a bit of length. I do have, if I pull this out, an extension rod that's, what, 3 more feet. So I can stick this extender in there, connect it, and then I can attach the chainsaw on the end of that, and we can go from there. This size motor and the strength of the rod, they don't recommend going farther than that, because if you start to lean out, it puts pressure on the rod. But I can extend quite a ways up and get branches that I don't want to climb up and down a ladder to cut them off with a chainsaw or to trim them with the Kombi tool. I know they've made some improvements to this recently. I don't know about the power head, but I might pay a visit to my friend Jared, who owns Woodland Saw and Cycle, that's a Stihl saw in town, and talk to him about the changes in the last 15 years to the trimmer head and the saw, and see what kind of other attachments you might want to use. When I first got this was a present from my father-in-law. He goes, well, you got a Christmas tree farm, you'll use this. And he gave me the trimmer first, and I'm like, nah. I was thinking, no, I won't actually use that. We do it with blades and whatnot. But when we started getting trees 10, 11 feet tall, this was really beneficial. To attach whatever you want, it's quite simple. You take the arrow that you have here, line it up with the arrow here, slide it in, and then you tighten this nut down. It doesn't always slide in that easily. Sometimes you need to pull the cord just a little bit to rotate the motor or rotate this pin that's here so that it lines up better, but this time it happened to go in nice and smooth. If you've viewed my playlist of Christmas tree farming, you've seen me using this. I'll try to get some video in there, but again, I'm not at the tree farm. But sitting with the tool on the ground right now, the bottom of the hedge trimmer is about 5 feet high, and then it extends up to almost 8 feet high once you get to the end from the ground. So when we're working it, usually I'm holding it here about on my hip, working it up, but I can extend up so I can easily get over 10, 11 feet while standing on the ground. my crew or my boys when they're using it, and now let me run that, Dad, and whatnot, and then they start trying to do it all biceps, and it really wears them out, and they're like, you take this back, I'll go back to the knife. I've kind of developed a technique of locking it in on my hip and just kind of rotating back and forth until it's a taller tree. Then I extend up at that point in time. But I think you can see this can get you a lot higher than swinging a knife ever will. And even though it can get heavy throughout the day, it's a lot better than carrying a ladder around and then moving the ladder and trying to move around the tree. I'm going to put the extension on and the chainsaw and show you how far we can reach with just one extension. I didn't loosen up the nut there. There we go. So you can see this with the chainsaw with the extension can reach quite a ways. It's a long tool. One of the things I do like is some people don't realize what it's for, but after where you saw right here, there's a little hook right here. So after you cut a branch off, if it's hooked up in there, hook this over the branch and yank it out of the tree. All right, I came down to Woodland Saw and Cycle. This is Jared, the owner. He's got a fair amount of my money, not as much as he wants yet.
Yeah. Always
But,
more.
yeah, but I enjoy his shop. He's the steel dealer in town. He's really knowledgeable. So I brought in my machine just as a comparison, and I was going to ask him. This is a little bit older model. What would be the comparable model now?
So the KM 131R is going to be the same horsepower. A couple of small changes that they've done over the years are a little bigger fuel tank, a little less vibration, very comparable to weight, and runs the same attachments. They've never changed the attachments from new to old. Bigger, small motors will all take the same attachments.
Okay.
Price-wise, it's not even too much difference. You're looking about $400 for this now, whereas this was probably like $350 to $370-ish.
Okay.
In this day.
So for the power head, we're about $400.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think you mentioned before there's been some upgrades to the hedge trimmer. What did they do a little different, or is there upgrades?
So yeah, basically Stihl started making these themselves. So instead of having another company make these for them, they just brought it in-house. So they made some improvements when they did that. But over the years, they've changed even this for the length. There's been a 20-inch. Now the current one is a 24-inch, but they did make this in a 24 also. But they've changed the gearbox and they've changed the blade design. So on the new blade design here, it's much easier actually to take apart and change the blades and everything on there, but it's also much stronger, more rigid, because it has this big aluminum bar instead of just these two thin steel pieces of plate on each side of these here. So the blade width, they still offer the same blade width, just say 24-inch, same deal there, same quality of blades and everything. But it's mainly just this being stronger, and then like I say, they've changed the gearbox design a little bit just because they're making it themselves. So still all greasable, serviceable, replaceable blades on either one. So, and then they offer a straight one also, where you don't have the adjustable head. They've also changed the adjustable heads. So the current one is 145 degrees adjustability. They started out by just going 90, and they went to 135. Now it's 145 degree adjustability on the blades there. So.
Okay, excellent. So I assume you sell a fair amount of the hedge trimmers. And
this is one of the top 3 attachments.
And there's all kinds of attachments. So I'm going to show some of those. Just pull those off the internet site that you can see. But your top sellers, you would say that you can add to this power head?
On there, the top 3 are the hedge trimmers. the weed eater attachment that you can put all the metal blades on also. It's not just a trimmer attachment only. And then that adjustable head trimmer, and then a pull saw. So the chainsaw on a stick, most people call it on there. So it's got a 12-inch bar and chain, its own oil tank and everything for pruning.
So that's interesting. So the weed whacker, weed eater, as opposed to just the standard one piece, how does it compare use-wise, effectiveness and power compared to just your standard weed eater?
So you can get the same exact motors with the combi system as you can with just the weed eater. So some people, they just don't need anything else, so they buy it as a weed eater. It's a little more money to buy this as a weed eater as opposed to just the standard trimmers, brush cutters. The only other thing, some people want the handlebars. You can't get a handlebar system on the combi system because most of the attachments don't work with that system. So you couldn't, run a pull saw in the air. It wouldn't be very easy or awkward or safe to run. So that's kind of the reason between the two. But as soon as you wanted to buy two attachments, this is cheaper than buying an individual pull saw and an individual weed eater by hundreds of dollars.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for explaining that. So I hope that answers the question that some of you had about the tool I'm using. It's not a hedge trimmer. It's a Stihl Kombi tool. Mine happens to be the 130R with a hedge trimmer attachment. And I do also have the chainsaw on a stick, as I like to call it, with another 3-foot extender. Great tool to have on the property, especially if you live out in the woods, and a great tool to have on the Christmas tree farm. I recommend you convince your wife you need to buy one. Anyway, thanks for joining me on the Flanagan Homestead, where Christmas trees are my business, teaching, including horticulture, is my job, and outdoor projects like using this combi tool are my passion. Be blessed, everyone.